Okay, so quickly I'm gonna run down on what to do if your exhaust rubber boot comes off of your Stihl MS-193. So that can happen by your chainsaw being pushed too much like this. So if you store it somewhere and something's pinching it, to lean a certain way or something, or if you get stuck or jammed, obviously that could be a possibility of something that can go wrong for you. So, in a nutshell, as you can tell, I got, you know, things taken apart here. This is what I did. So, to start, I removed this cover plate from the chainsaw. Then, um, let's see here. Then I took off this cover plate from back there. And then there is um, this cover plate handle here, okay, that has one, two, three screws. If you remove it very carefully, holding here as you do so, press back against here a little bit and remove this very carefully, all of this linkage can stay intact. Then I took a piece of tape and wrapped it so that I don't have to worry about later putting on that spring back there and connecting this bar, and that's just one less step. I mean, it's nothing major. There's a spring there. If you look at it all anyway, if it does come off, that's the important thing. So when you remove this, to hold this orange piece here as you do so and remove it carefully so you can look at how all of the linkage is connected is most important. And like I said, that little spring that lies in back there, how it fits and everything, take a good look at all of that so that you won't be confused on how to put that back together. So, like I said, I took a piece of tape and wrapped it so that's one less step. Then I removed the screw here. Right? Did I remove that screw first? No, I removed the screw over here holding the housing for the carburetor. See, so now that's free. So there's that screw here. Then I removed this cover plate, like I was going to say, off of the carburetor. And when I put that back on, I will be sure that this side that's near the carburetor, obviously, is very clean as I can get it. As you can see, it's pretty dusty in there still. So anyway, that comes off. It just lifts off. You pry it a little bit from the top corner there and corners, and it lifts off of these two screw housings. It slides off. Set that off to the side. Now, like I said, there is the screw up here on the inside, back behind this. Your on-off switch, on-off choke switch. You slide that out, and then there's a screw back in there, okay? And boom. So now that handle's free, and you're almost all the way completely free there now, except for the screw that holds this in. You take the screw out of that one, okay? So I have two screws here now. There's a top one that went to here, and then there's the bottom one that went to here. And then I disconnected the two power wires. The yellow will go back on this bar right here, and the black one, as you can see, stayed attached to the little thing. I paid attention to how I slip it back up in there, as you should do so too if it doesn't come off easily. And the easiest thing is to just have the whole piece out. Fine, so be it. Now everything is free, okay, except for the fact that you have a couple fuel lines still connected to the carburetor. There is the inlet back there that connects down at the bottom there where that metal bar is. That's gonna have to get disconnected. And then there's this one here. I'm not sure if that's a breather tube or what you want to call it, but those two are going to have to get disconnected. Then I'm going to be able to slide this carburetor up and off and reattach the exhaust boot in there properly, get it seated, then slip this sucker back down on. So I'm going to hopefully not slide this all the way off. I'm going to slide it up until I have just enough room to get that boot seated back in there, then push it back down. So let's see how it goes. Also, one other thing, obviously, there was a linkage connection here, okay, with this little piece that links to the top with that bar there, and on the bottom with that bar down there running into the carburetor. I simply disconnected those two linkages from this piece and got it off out to the side now over there. And like I said, now it is pretty free and clear of all linkage connectings. Like I said, those two will get popped back on, easy peasy, 1, 2, 3 Z, hopefully. As you can see, the bottom one's still linked. That's fine, good. So like I said, I'm going to try and slide this baby up a little, get that boot placed back in there, and let's see how it goes. One other thing I just realized, obviously to slide it up, this had to get pushed off, okay? That is going to be your choke as well, your choke switch. That just slides right off. I used a pair of needle nose pliers, put them right here and pushed out, it popped off. So there we have that. Okay, now let's see how it goes. One other thing, I took a piece of tape and I closed this port before I took this off. So I closed that so it's flat, you see that? And then I put a piece of tape over it. And I didn't have an air gun around, so I just blew like hell all around it. I'm gonna try and blow a little bit more. But that's going to prevent shit from getting inside there, inside the carburetor. And like I said, hopefully we'll see how it goes. Now, for any dust that did lie in or around here, I'm taking a Q-tip and giving it a swab, because any kind of particles down in there are not a good thing. So this is very important. Do your best to make sure that port was closed off before you pretty much blew out this sucker as best you can. Hopefully you have an air gun. And let's see how it goes. Okay, so now I've tested my theory here of trying to not have to disconnect the gas lines and lift it up. And you can see I got a little gap there. Hold on. Can you see? Yeah, so it lifted up a little bit. I may need to lift up just a touch more, but I'm going to slip this baby in there and get it seated back down. Again, wish me luck without having to disconnect the gas lines or anything. Now, it seems as though I was able to get that baby up in there. Let's see, I gotta make sure, because I'm not doing this. Okay, so it's a good thing I paused there for a second. I lifted the carburetor up even further. I got the boot housing all the way inside. Okay, it's definitely in there now. It's seated the way it's supposed to be. First thing I'm gonna do is get this stuff all the cover plates back on and tighten them down so I know this puppy's secure before I worry about hooking up linkages or anything. Then I'll take it back off and reconnect the linkages and all that stuff. But I want to tighten it down first and see if I can get this carburetor to seat tight back against everything. Okay, let's see what happens. So all went well. Like I said, I'm just gonna button everything back up now, repeat the steps, and there you go. That's how you put back on your intake rubber intake manifold boot, which sits down in there. And it is seated properly now. It is no longer loose and hanging off. First thing I did was just put this on. That seems to be holding it in place well enough for now. And obviously when I tighten down everything, it should be good. There you go. All right.